Hello everyone, welcome to my video series of C# Practical. In this session, we will talk about exception handling in C#. What are the different kinds of exception we can handle? How we can handle all-in-one exception? How we can handle a particular exception? Let's check in this video. I have created one project, exception handling. So here, let's start with the example. So, what is the exception? Exception is like abnormal behavior of a logic which will break our program. Okay, so to handle that scenario, we are catching the exception. Catching the exception will help us to give the appropriate message to the end user. So let's first uh, create some scenarios for creating exception. Suppose I have one object, or we can say int I equal to convert dot 2 in 32, and I will say here hello. Okay, console dot write line value of I, and I will print I. Let's run this program. You can see exception is caught that we cannot convert alphabets to the number. So in this real scenario, when you have a one setup of application installed, it will completely break down, or it will abnormally terminate the program. Okay, in this code we can see this exception is originally thrown at this call stack. We will see what is this. If I click on view details, it will give me an exact error. Input string was not in a correct format. Input string is basically hello. It is not appropriate for converting it to the integer value. Now how we can handle this? So whenever we find there is a chances of exception and we should give appropriate message to the user, here just type try and press double tap. It will automatically create a syntax for you. Now copy this here and paste this here. Let me see here console.read. Okay. Now let's run again. Here again you can see exception is caught, but at this point the position of catching the exception has changed. It is caught at throw. Okay, when I continue on this, it will abnormally kill the application. Now how we can handle this? Before that, let's understand what is try, what is catch. Try is basically a business logic which contains your actual logic of application. In case due to any inappropriate input from the user, if it catches an exception, it will go to the catch block. Catch block has a capability to display a appropriate, or say to show the appropriate error message which is caught. Here exception is a class of main exception, and throw is a keyword to actually throw the error. Now there is also concept of creating a instance, say ex. Now if I want to print appropriate message, I will say console.writeLine. I will remove throw keyword and error ex dot message. Now in this case it will display a appropriate message. Let's check. As you can see, input string was not in a correct format. So this is how you can handle a exception. Now this is a main class of exception. Now suppose I want to catch exact exception of this type of error, or say suppose I have one int j equal to, here I will give value of I as 0, and for j I will say pi divided by I. So this number is divided by I. This number is divided by I, and I is 0. Any number cannot be divided by 0. This is incorrect. Now let's check what it prints here. See, attempted to divide it by 0. So now I want to catch this exception. So I can create divide by 0 exception. So there are different kind of exception is available that we can catch. Now let's run again. Yes. So it is caught here. Now why then we have used exception earlier? So there are different types of exception. One of them is a divide by 0 exception. Also we have argument exception, argument null exception. Okay, there are multiple exceptions. Now suppose there are some scenario where we don't know actual exception. At that time we create a exception. So interviewer will always ask, can we create a multiple catch statement? Yes, we can create a multiple catch statement. Now if I try to copy the same, it will give me an error. It will say it is already defined, it is already catches. Okay, so this is the main exception. Okay, now let's run again. At here we could see error, so exception is caught at this position. The reason is because this exception is known and we have handled the same exception here. Now suppose if I change the position of this catch block, let's check what happens. Yes, what it says, a previous catch clause always catches all exception. So interviewer will also ask, what if I write this exception first and other exceptions here? So basically this exception handles all the exceptions. So this should always be at the last position. Now coming back to here, say catch, and again if I now let me check, convert to in 32, I will say hello. Let me check what happens here. Will it go here or here? Exception error. Input string was not in a correct format. So the reason is because we have handled a divide by zero exception. This is not a divide by zero exception. That is why appropriate exception was not found. So this general exception was caught. Okay. Now let's understand a concept of finally block. Now what is finally block? Finally block is a mandatory block that always executes after any exception. Okay. So I say final block executed. Now let's run this. See, exception is caught and finally block also executed. So why we need this finally block? The reason is, suppose in example of database connection, if there is an error in the business logic, my connection to the database is open. and I want to release that connection, and I'm not sure at which position it will go. So writing the code again for closing the connection in try block and again in each catch statement is inappropriate. To resolve that, we can write once in the finally block. So anything happens here, if anything happens here, if anything happens here, at the end just close my connection. Okay, so this is very helpful in this kind of scenario, and this always executes. Here a finally block is optional, it is not mandatory. And what about a catch statement? Catch statement is optional if we have a finally block, so either catch statement should be there or either finally. Let me check if I remove this. Yes, it is applicable, but if I run this it will give me an error. Okay, and if I continue it will stop the application. But suppose this is not there, and if I run this application, finally block executed. So catch statement is optional if finally block is there. Now if I remove finally block, it is fine. We checked this earlier. Now suppose I have some other classes, let's say static function 1, static void function 1. I have a console this thing here, and if I call function 1 here, so what happens, it will give the control to the main main method, because this has error, so immediate whatever catch statement is there, it will get executed. So in this case it get caught here. Okay, now suppose if I write try catch statement here, I will write ex, I will say console dot write line error in function 1, and let's check where it goes. Now let me execute this statement again. Okay, so error is caught at this position, so it will not go again this catch block. Okay, so whenever a method has a exception handled, it will go to that catch statement of that method, it will not execute the catch statement from the parent. So this is one of the important thing. Now suppose I don't have a valid exception for this error, suppose I have a divide by zero exception here, but this is some other exception. So let's see what happens. Okay, exception error, input string was not in a correct format, so it has executed this catch statement. The reason is, whenever this statement executes, it checks for exit exception for that particular try block. If not a relevant catch statement is found, it will give the control to the parent parent method, and in that method it checks whether this catch statement is available for this type of error. Here also we have a divide by zero exception, not a valid exception for this error, so it has executed a general exception. So this is how catch statement executes in sequence for the parent and the child method. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe. If your concepts are getting clear from my videos, please give thumbs up. Thank you so much.